We see them all the time. Motors that make things spin and generators that crank out electricity. On the surface, they seem like complete opposites, don't they? But what if I told you they share a pretty big secret? It turns out they're basically the same exact device, just running in reverse.
So, this gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Can a simple little motor, like one from a toy car, also work as a generator? Could it light a bulb? The answer is a definite, absolute yes. And the tweak you need to make it happen is, well, it's way simpler than you'd probably guess. Let's dive in.
Okay, so to really get this, let's kick things off with a simple, hands-on experiment. It's a little bit mind-bending, I'll admit, but it's the perfect way to see this hidden connection for yourself.
Seriously, it's true. Imagine you take a little DC motor, right? You disconnect the battery, you hook up a tiny light bulb to its terminals instead, and then you just spin the little shaft by hand. What happens? That bulb will actually light up. The very same device that we think of for using electricity can, just like that, be used to create it.
And this quote, this really says it all, doesn't it? A motor is a generator, and a generator is a motor. This is the key idea we're going to unpack. So how on earth is this possible?
Well, the secret isn't really about what's inside them. I mean, the parts are often pretty much identical. Nope, the whole thing comes down to one simple concept: the direction the energy is flowing.
Think of it like a perfect mirror image. You put electricity in, and you get motion out. Boom, that's a motor. But if you put motion in, by physically turning the shaft, you get electricity out. That's a generator. This isn't just a party trick either. It's the exact principle behind regenerative braking in an electric car. The motor that drives the wheels literally runs in reverse when you slow down, becoming a generator and sending power back to the battery.
And this swap doesn't just happen on a small scale. We're talking massive power plants. If the giant turbine that's supposed to be spinning the generator suddenly fails, guess what happens? That generator immediately starts sucking electricity from the grid and begins to spin itself. It instantly turns into a gigantic motor. It's an incredible real-world example of just how interchangeable they are.
Okay, so to really understand how this switcheroo works, we've got to peek inside and look at the fundamental law of physics that makes it all happen. It's all about the connection between magnetism, motion, and electricity.
And that principle is called electromagnetic induction. Now, it sounds complicated, but the idea is actually super simple. All it says is that if you move a wire through a magnetic field, an electric current will start flowing in that wire. That's it. This one single rule is the reason both motors and generators can even exist.
So let's break down how a generator uses this. It's basically a four-step dance. First, you need some kind of mechanical force, think wind, water, steam, to spin the central part, the rotor. As that rotor spins, its magnetic field slices across a bunch of stationary coils of wire, called the stator. And when that happens, step 3. That interaction creates, or induces, an electric current in those stator wires. The last step, you just collect that electricity from the terminals. And just like that, you've turned motion directly into power.
All right, so we've got the basics down for how a generator makes electricity. But here's where it gets really interesting. There's a big surprise when it comes to the kind of electricity they all make. And it's probably not what you think.
Believe it or not, all generators naturally produce alternating current, or AC. Every single one. And it makes perfect sense when you think about it. As that coil of wire spins around, it passes the north pole of a magnet, then the south pole, then the north pole again, over and over. This constant flipping of the magnetic field it's passing through means the direction of the current it generates also has to flip back and forth, back and forth. And that, my friends, is the definition of AC. So that leads to a pretty obvious question, right? If all generators make AC, how do we get the direct current, or DC, that we need for things like charging a battery? Well, the solution is a really clever little gadget called a commutator. It's basically a spinning mechanical switch. And what it does is, it flips the electrical connection at the exact moment the AC current is about to switch direction. It's like it grabs the negative part of the wave and folds it up to be positive. The result is, well, it's a bit of a bumpy ride, but it's a current that only flows in one direction.
Okay, so let's bring this into the real world with something you use every single day, probably without even thinking about it. The alternator sitting under the hood of your car.
Yeah, the name kind of gives it away, right? An alternator is a special kind of generator built specifically to, well, alternate the current. So your car's engine spins it, it produces a bunch of AC power, and then a separate little electronic box, a rectifier, converts that AC into the DC power your car needs to charge the battery and run everything else. And this chart right here really nails down why we switched. See, old-school DC generators use that commutator we just talked about, which relies on these carbon brushes that are constantly rubbing and wearing down. It was a huge maintenance headache. But alternators? They use simple, tough slip rings that last way longer, making them so much more reliable. Basically, they're built to last.
But here's the thing. Whether we're talking about a little alternator in a car or a massive generator at a power plant, they all have to follow the same rules of physics. So how do engineers control the electricity they're making? Well, it all comes down to this one powerful formula. This is the rulebook. It connects the rotation speed, which is N, to the frequency of the power, F, and the number of magnetic poles inside, P. You can't change one of these without affecting the others.
So why does this math matter in the real world? Well, think about this. To get the standard 50 Hz power we use at home, a generator with only a few magnetic poles has to spin incredibly fast, like thousands of revolutions per minute. But then you look at a giant wind turbine, and its blades are turning really slowly. So how does that work? The answer is right there in the formula. Engineers just pack the turbine's generator with a ton of magnetic poles. This lets it produce that perfect 50 Hz frequency, even while it's spinning at a much slower, more powerful, and efficient speed.
And all of this leaves us with one final fascinating question. I mean, the laws of physics are the same everywhere, right? That formula works the same in Mumbai as it does in Minnesota. So why does the US run its power grid at 60 Hz, while India and most of the world use 50 Hz? The answer, it turns out, has absolutely nothing to do with science. It's all about business history, a rivalry between companies more than a century ago. It just goes to show you, even when you're dealing with the fundamental laws of the universe, it's often human decisions that shape the world we live in.